Hockey's a game of skill, speed, and strategy. But it's the rivalries that really get the blood pumping. The NHL is packed with rivalries that'll make your blood boil and your heart race. And today, we're diving into the fiercest battles and epic showdowns that define the NHL's top 10 team rivalries. From legendary face-offs to unforgettable brawls, these matchups aren't just games. They're stories of pride, revenge, and glory that keep us on the edge of our seats. So here we've got the top 10 fiercest, most intense rivalries in NHL history. Ready to relive some epic showdowns? Grab your seat and let's drop the puck on our top 10. But before we start, subscribe for more jaw-dropping NHL moments that you won't want to miss. Number 10. Los Angeles Kings versus Anaheim Ducks. The freeway face-off between the Los Angeles Kings and the Anaheim Ducks is a relatively recent but intense rivalry that developed due to the proximity of the two teams in Southern California. The rivalry gained traction in the mid-2000s when both teams became competitive, with the Ducks winning their first Stanley Cup in 2007 and the Kings securing their championships in 2012 and 2014. The rivalry is characterized by a strong regional component, as both teams vie for the support of the Southern California hockey fan base. The Kings and Ducks have met in the playoffs, notably in the 2014 Western Conference semifinals, which the Kings won in a hard-fought 7-game series. The competitive nature of these matchups, combined with the spirited fan bases, creates a charged atmosphere during games. The rivalry continues to grow, fueled by the team's success and the regional pride of their supporters. Number 9. New York Rangers versus New York Islanders. The Battle of New York between the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders is one of the NHL's most heated rivalries. Emerging in the 1970s, this rivalry is driven by the geographical proximity of the teams and the competitive nature of New York sports culture. The Islanders' early success, including their 4 consecutive Stanley Cup victories from 1980 to 1983, quickly intensified the rivalry. Games are often characterized by a playoff-like atmosphere, with both teams drawing passionate fan support. The rivalries featured several memorable playoff series, notably in the 1980s when the Islanders frequently bested the Rangers. Physical play and on-ice altercations have been common, with players like Dennis Potvin and Sean Avery becoming central figures in the rivalry's lore. The intense media coverage and fan involvement further amplify the animosity between these two franchises, ensuring that their matchups are always eagerly anticipated. Number 8. Chicago Blackhawks versus Detroit Red Wings. The rivalry between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings is a classic Original Six matchup with a rich history dating back to 1926. This rivalry is defined by its longevity and the high stakes often involved when the two teams meet. Over the years, the Blackhawks and Red Wings have faced off in numerous playoff series, including several Stanley Cup finals, creating a deep-seated animosity between them. Geographic proximity in the Midwest adds another layer of intensity, as fans frequently travel to away games, creating a charged atmosphere in the arenas. The rivalry was especially fierce during the 1980s and 1990s, with both teams boasting talented rosters and competing for supremacy in the Western Conference. Notable players like Gordie Howe, Bobby Hull, and Chris Chelios have added to the rivalry's history through their on-ice battles and personal rivalries. The Blackhawks Red Wings rivalry remains one of the most enduring and celebrated in the NHL. Number 7. Calgary Flames versus Edmonton Oilers. The Battle of Alberta between the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers is one of the NHL's most intense rivalries, fueled by provincial pride and a history of fierce competition. Originating in the early 1980s, the rivalry gained prominence as both teams emerged as Stanley Cup contenders. The Oilers, led by legends like Wayne Gretzky, dominated the league with multiple championships, while the Flames consistently challenged their supremacy. This rivalry is characterized by its physicality, high-scoring games, and frequent playoff encounters, particularly in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Fans are deeply passionate, with games often featuring rowdy crowds and heightened emotions. The rivalry is not just limited to the ice. it extends to the fans, who engage in heated debates and displays of loyalty. The Battle of Alberta is a key part of Canadian hockey culture, embodying the competitive spirit and regional pride of the province. Number 6. Toronto Maple Leafs versus Ottawa Senators. The Battle of Ontario between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Ottawa Senators is a fierce rivalry rooted in regional pride and frequent playoff encounters in the early 2000s. The rivalry gained intensity when the Senators re-entered the NHL in 1992, and it reached its peak during 4 consecutive playoff series from 2000 to 2004, all won by Toronto. The close proximity of the cities and their passionate fan bases contribute to the rivalry's intensity, with fans often traveling to support their teams in away games. The media in both cities frequently amplify the tension, creating a charged atmosphere whenever the teams meet. The rivalry is characterized by high-stakes games, dramatic moments, and player confrontations. While the Leafs have historically had the upper hand, the Senators' resurgence in recent years has rekindled the rivalry. The combination of history, regional pride, and competitive games ensures that this rivalry remains significant. If you're loving this in-depth breakdown of hockey's generational showdown, then smash that subscribe button and join the crew. We're bringing you exclusive NHL content, from deep dives into legendary rivalries to scouting the next wave of superstars. Number 5. Philadelphia Flyers versus Pittsburgh Penguins. The Battle of Pennsylvania between the Philadelphia Flyers and Pittsburgh Penguins is a fierce rivalry marked by geographic proximity and a history of physical and competitive games. The rivalry intensified in the 1980s when both teams were contenders in the Patrick Division. The Flyers are known for their tough, aggressive style of play, while the Penguins have often boasted star-studded rosters, including legends like Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby. Their playoff meetings, such as the memorable 2012 series featuring high-scoring games and physical confrontations, have added to the animosity. The passionate fan bases of both teams further fuel the rivalry, with fans often traveling to away games to support their teams. Media coverage and regional pride contribute to the intensity, making every matchup between these two teams a must-watch event. The combination of physical play, star power, and playoff drama ensures the rivalry remains one of the NHL's most intense. Number 4. Boston Bruins versus Toronto Maple Leafs. The rivalry between the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs is a classic Original Six matchup that has produced some of the most memorable games in NHL history. The rivalry dates back to 1924 and is fueled by numerous playoff encounters, including the famous 2013 first-round series where Boston staged a dramatic comeback in Game 7. The rivalry is characterized by physical play, close games, and historical significance. Both teams have a strong following, and their matchups often draw significant media attention and fan interest. The Bruins' tough, physical style contrasts with the Leafs' skilled play, leading to intense and unpredictable games. This rivalry is further amplified by the passionate fan bases, who create an electric atmosphere during games. The combination of historical context, competitive matchups, and high-stakes games makes the Bruins-Leafs rivalry one of the most celebrated in the NHL. Number 3. Vancouver Canucks versus Calgary Flames. The rivalry between the Vancouver Canucks and Calgary Flames is a classic Pacific Division matchup, also fueled by geographic proximity and a history of memorable playoff encounters. This rivalry took root in the late 1980s and early 1990s when both teams frequently met in the playoffs, often with high stakes. One of the most notable series was in 1994 when the Canucks defeated the Flames in a thrilling 7-game series, advancing them to the Stanley Cup Finals. The rivalry is characterized by intense games, physical play, and passionate fan support. The regional pride between British Columbia and Alberta adds an extra layer of intensity to their matchups. Player rivalries, on-ice confrontations, and memorable goals have all contributed to the rivalry's legacy. The competitive nature of the games and the emotional investment of the fans make the Canucks-Flames rivalry one of the most enduring and intense in the NHL. Number 2. Boston Bruins versus Montreal Canadiens. The rivalry between the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens is one of the oldest and most intense in the NHL, dating back to 1924. A combination of geographic proximity, frequent playoff encounters, and a clash of cultural identities fuels the animosity between these two teams. Montreal's French-Canadian heritage and Boston's English-speaking fan base create a unique cultural tension, amplified by the passionate fan bases on both sides. This rivalry is intensified by numerous memorable playoff series, with the teams having met in the postseason more than any other NHL pairing. The Canadiens have historically dominated, especially in the earlier years, often thwarting Boston's championship hopes. Iconic moments, such as Montreal's 1979 playoff victory, aided by a too many men on the ice penalty against Boston, have added to the lore. Player rivalries and physical play, including famous brawls, further cement this matchup as a legendary showdown in hockey history. Number 1. Toronto Maple Leafs versus Montreal Canadiens. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens rivalry is steeped in history, arguably the greatest we've ever seen in hockey history, embodying the essence of Canadian hockey. These two original 6 teams have been competing since 1917, making their encounters rich with tradition and national pride. This rivalry is marked by its representation of Canada's 2 largest cities, Toronto and Montreal, each with distinct cultural and linguistic identities. The Leafs and Canadiens have faced off in numerous high-stake games, including several Stanley Cup finals. While the Canadiens historically have had more success in the playoffs, the rivalry remains fiercely competitive. It's further fueled by the passionate fan bases of both teams, often leading to electric atmospheres during games. Player confrontations and intense physical play have also been hallmarks of this matchup. The rivalry's intensity is perpetuated by media attention and fan debates, making it one of the most celebrated in NHL history. So, we've journeyed through the heated arenas and legendary battles of the NHL's top 10 team rivalries, and from coast to coast, each matchup tells the same story of fierce competition, passion, and the relentless pursuit of victory. These rivalries really define the spirit of hockey, where history and intensity collide on the ice, captivating fans year after year. But the story doesn't end here. Which rivalry do you think is the most electrifying? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling hockey showdowns and stories that ignite the soul of the sport. Thanks for watching.